Hello there. We're back in the She Shed where it's a time to sit and chat with Dr. C. So, I keep leaving my sipping stuff. I have to make sure I get it. I have water, but it's not in our little glass like we did the last time. So take your time, take some time to go get something that you want to sip on. This is 9 p.m., 10 p.m. Some places we've done this late so the kids are in bed. And, hopefully you have a little moment for yourself so that we can have some grown-up conversation. Remember to like and share as you look at this. Use it in your youth groups, in your women's groups, and wherever. Let the conversation continue. Right. Remember, like and share and like. To like and share. Let me introduce you to these amazing women who are in the group here with us. Man, I hope you have your notepads and everything else. We want to make you upset if you don't agree. Oh well. But we're gonna share from the She Shed. I'm gonna bring my first guest is Yvette. You guys know Yvette. She is. I was gonna tell you she's not single, but she'll tell you that herself. She's single, but she is not available. We made sure of that. Yvette, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Yvette Robinson, and I am a life coach, relationship facilitator. I've been on Dr. Holmes. Well, I've been working with Dr. Holmes since December of 2017, and it's been a very fruitful relationship. I'm excited. Well, she'll probably dig in a little bit deeper, so I'll let her do that. I am single, but I'm engaged as well, and so I'm looking forward to the future.
Good. And we're going to dig a little deep into Yvette's business. I told all the ladies backstage, that's what we do. That's why we have our sipping stuff so that we can have the tea. All right, Yvette, we'll be right back with you. Let's just see who else we have here. Teresa, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks for the space, Dr. Holmes. I am not single anymore. I am newlywed. I married my husband twice. I was a COVID bride, so we did him and I the first go round, and then we did the big wedding the second go round. And if he's nice, I'll marry him again. He's
That is so cute. That's so cute. We'll talk a little bit about that because a lot of people were saying that COVID was the time that they could not mingle. So we have to dig in there because I think you and Yvette around this in terms of what has happened during COVID. COVID brought you guys husbands while everybody else is talking about things that went different for them. What do you do professionally?
I am a human resource professional. So my last office gig was a recruiting manager. So I am about that in my life. I'm about that in my career. I am the one you want to help find you a job. And lately, I've just really been encouraging people to follow their dreams, just going from that corporate world to the entrepreneurial world and just really manifesting your dreams and going after them. That's what COVID really taught me, that you could do whatever it is you thought you couldn't, because COVID came and changed the world for us. And we need to think like it's a different world and go get it. So
go get it. Yes.
Go get it. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So I am the dream catcher. I'll help you catch it. So I am also a talk show host. I am one of 5 hosts. We do Real Talk, Real Action TV. I am also the Vice President of Membership for Toastmasters International.
Nice.
The Sweet Talkers Club here in Sugar Land. And I teach public speaking at a high school here in Houston. So
That
just
is really nice. Yes, I know some people who wanted to get into Toastmasters and stuff like that. So now I can tell them I have a
amazing.
hookup.
Yeah, you do. I'm the plug.
Unplug. Yeah, yeah. So good. We're going to come right back to you. I love it already. Let's see who else we have here. So we have Candy.
Hello.
Candy.
Hi. How are y'all?
Hi. We're well. Tell us a little bit about yourself and about the Candy name and all of that stuff.
Well, okay, so
Who's
Candy,
Candy?
my name is actually Calandrian Uriah Lampkin Perry, okay? But my uncle at the age, I was like 6 months old, he started calling me Candy and it's actually stuck. So I've tried to shake it, but it's so much easier to say Candy than it is to say what was all of that other stuff, Calandrian, which I do love my name. I love my middle name mostly because it's Uriah and it's a biblical name. So, but I am also with Real Talk, Real Action TV show. But my career wise, I am a registered nurse and I've been a registered nurse now for 21 years. I am married and to a wonderful husband, and we've been together since high school. We have a set of twin boys who are 18 now, and they are ready to start their own life. So I am trying to be the best mother and not hover too much. They're pretty smart boys, and I really trust their decision making. So right now, I am, as I mentioned, I'm a nurse, and I am just helping tackle this COVID. And
Wow.
so we're feeling it. And so that's like right now, what am I most interested in? My biggest interest right now is like how can we better serve the community in terms of safety and just helping spread the knowledge that we need to have a safe life, and definitely how can we build our immune system. It's important.
That's really, really, really good. That's really good. So tell me, what is RTTV? How can people see the TV show that you guys are part of?
Okay, well, Real Talk Real Action comes on Fridays at 7:30. And you can also find us on, there's a YouTube channel called Ice Cold TV Television Network. You can find us on there as well. That one you would be able to see it on Fridays, of course, at 7:30. But if you want to catch
On
any of the
Roku.
previous shows, you can on Roku. Any of the well, no, the Real Talk Real Action is the Ice Cold TV Television Network, that's the YouTube channel. But then the Real Talk Real Action comes on Roku on 7:30 on Fridays, right? And so you can also find like previous shows on the Ice Cold TV Television Network underneath the on demand. And so
Okay.
you can reach us on YouTube, you can reach us on Facebook, all of the different social media streams. You can send us a message, and we're always ready and we're willing. We are a platform for people to be able to just show whatever's on their heart. It doesn't have to be something to be purchased. It can be just a life story that will help other people in the community, not just and we're not just looking for just in the community. We're looking for global. We want to help people any way in any form that we can. So we offer a platform for them to be able to reach as many people as possible. And I'm gonna tell Miss Teresa is also with Real Talk Real Action. So I'm just gonna. Did I miss anything?
No, definitely. We are on all platforms. Like we talk about everything important. We're just your best girlfriends to sit back and really just have that
That's
conversation.
okay. Good. That's so good. I want to just jump into some of your business because I find this time goes so really, really fast. And the conversations start, and then I'm left still wanting more. So it sounds like both Teresa and Yvette, both of you found love in the pandemic. Um, and this is something that a lot of people are saying they lost their love during pandemic. Relationship got worse. But Teresa, tell me a little bit about how you met your husband.
Wow.
I
My
told you I was going to be nosy, right? Didn't I say I was going to be nosy?
I, I can make it really short. We go to the same church. So we've been knowing, I didn't know him. And honestly, Dr. Holmes, I am still getting to know him. So at this point, like he was, so my grandparents have been going to Shady Dale. It's here in Houston for my entire life. I even went to the private school. So that was just our church. And his mom and his family grew up across the street from my dad and my aunts. So they were my family before I even knew he exists, because he wasn't coming to church every Sunday, and I am a little older than him. So I was way more active and sat in the front, and he usually sat all the way in the back. So, and I worked in the kitchen with his mom. So the only thing I knew is that we always had to fix him one of the biggest plates, and I didn't understand why. And
Now you
then,
do.
yes, now he eats us out of house and home. But we met. We did have a singles ministry at our church. We're a really small congregation, so it was either just me or one other person probably. And he's the quiet type, just like my dad, and I am, as you can see, very talkative. So we fit really well. After church, we would just kind of stay, and he would listen to me kind of talk about the message or talk about whatever I wanted to. And he's just this great person to talk to, and he listens and understands. So we
How
just,
long did you date? How long, when you transitioned from friends to being in a relationship?
we,
How,
we dated, and we actually did not tell anyone that we were dating. So it was just between he and I. So we would meet and have dinner because, like I say, our families are intertwined, and our our church is really small. So we just really wanted to get to know each other without the outside influence. So we dated about 6 months before we told our families we were even into each other, because we really wanted to know that first. So 6 months before we told the world. And then I think we probably were together a year in a few months before probably like almost 2 years before he proposed altogether.
okay, all right. Yvette, how did you meet your boo?
Well, thanks to you, Dr. Holmes, I was encouraged to put myself out there. And as you know, I was completely against online dating because I didn't think that it would be fruitful. As a matter of fact, I joined one of the sites, and I really had no expectation whatsoever that I would be found or that I would be interested in anyone. So what I did was I would go on and I would just kind of message people back and forth, because I made it very clear that I did not want to talk to anyone. I didn't want to get myself invested that closely with someone that I didn't think was going to develop into a relationship. But from the first interaction with my fiance, he just captured me by, first of all, asking me to look at his profile. And if I was interested, let him know. And so I did. And the thing that caught my attention was he had his personality profile up there. And I had to go and research what his personality type was. I had to find out what mine was because I wanted to be prepared to engage him at that level. And so that was something very unique and something that none of the other men up there did. So that was how he caught my attention. So,
And that's really good. And I was just thinking now that Yvette was just like Ruth, because we had a full-fledged photo shoot. That
yes.
right. So we had a photo shoot. We worked on the hair. We worked on all of that, and then
All of
put her
that.
out there, right? I forgot
Yeah.
about that.
That's so
Yeah.
awesome.
She got me
Yeah.
ready,
Out
y'all. She
there.
got me ready. She really did. She really did.
Yeah, she was
Hmm.
working with me with walking because I think she got what's the word, catfish. There was somebody else.
Yes, I got
Yeah.
catfished on Instagram. Horrible.
So it was really nice. She changed up everything, put these nice pictures out there, and that's what
Yep.
Naomi said to Ruth. Ruth. Naomi said to Ruth, change your clothes, change up a little bit, and position yourself, and you get the
Yeah,
match.
I remember that story. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Candy, it's really nice to see that it seems like how long you've been married for over 18 years. You still seem to be in love with your husband. I still see that little girlish glow and smile as you talk about him. Um, yeah. How are you keeping
I,
that alive?
so we have our ups and our downs. I mean, but I know that I'm better with him than I am without him. I do know that. And I also know that 2020 um, was like the roughest year of my life. My husband was diagnosed with multiple myeloma cancer when COVID hit. So my initially with the COVID thing, I was more concerned about my husband, like and his safety because his immune system was absolutely at zero. It's actually -0. So I wanted everybody else to do what they need to do to protect the community because my husband's in the community. You know what I mean? But
Right.
it was then that I knew it's for me. It was so close to losing him because I mean I did lose him, for a little bit, but God said not now, and so that I feel like even brought me even closer to him because I experienced the thought of him not being. So I'm better with him than without him. So
Okay, that's
now I would say 2 years ago, that wouldn't have been the statement. I would have been like, he is on my last nerve. But I appreciate my husband in a whole different light now. So, and he didn't work for an entire year and a half actually. And so I was a sugar mama because
with
he's
the
been my
sugar
sugar
mama.
daddy.
Yeah, that's nice.
So
That's
yeah.
awesome.
So
That's really.
it's a give and
Mhm.
take. It's a give and take. It hasn't been roses all the time, but and we're still working on communication because I don't communicate as well as I should because I think that I get in my head thinking everybody think what I'm thinking or think like I'm thinking, and so I have my best friend's a guy, and so he's helping me to like kind of look at the man's point of view because sometimes when I go to my husband to try to defend something that I have a very strong opinion about, my reasons are not clear because I can't explain them the best way. And sometimes, my friend helps me with things like, no, you can't, it's a guy, you can't do this, you can't say it like that. Like, oh, okay, well, that's better. So yeah, it's been work, but it's I like building.
And that's really, really good. One of the things that I tell um, women to do, wives to do, is and a lot of people think it's really morbid, to write the obituary for their spouse. And I know Yvette was there a couple of times where the woman is talking about how bad the relationship is, how she doesn't like her husband, but when she had to write the obituary, she wouldn't do it. She couldn't think about life without him. And sometimes it has to come to that place where you realize that you have to live in the moment because we are not promised tomorrow. And you don't want to say things looking at a box,
Right.
and working through some of the things that may be problematic in the relationship, working through them because you want to, at least you have that person, like you said, it's better together than
Hmm.
it is apart. for you guys, and I want to just start with Teresa and then work my way around. Is there a difference in how a girlfriend views sex and a wife? Is there a difference between, so you've been a girlfriend and you're now a wife. Is there a difference in how you view sex?
For me, I would say no, it wasn't. I've always thought of it as intimacy. So when I went into it in love, I truly approach it with the same heart. Now I do view it. I'm not gonna lie. My husband and I faced I had to face myself in premarital sex and what I actually was doing because I was a leader in my church. We were both in that church together. So when I was his girlfriend and we were having premarital sex, it was not something I enjoyed. I stood in such conviction when I can't even explain. And that's just with him, previous to him. Of course I was no angel, but this was the man I wanted to marry. So in just his aspect, when I was his girlfriend, I was very afraid of what I was doing to the course of our marriage. And I didn't, as in communication, I find myself looking for the words to say the things that need to be said and understood. So it was such a hard conversation to have with him. And I was in such a tough place. I've never even said it out. Like I'm saying it out loud now, but I guess, yes, it was a difference because I did say no in the beginning, but just with this one man, when I was his girlfriend, it wasn't the same. And once we were married, it was totally different. Like my heart was just in such a better place afterwards. I could appreciate him and still love myself.
Mm-hmm. So if someone is listening to us and is in that place that you were, in terms of being with, and I really thank you for your transparency, and it just is amazing. If someone is if there's a woman in that place there, tell us a little bit what keeps you doing it. And this is not a judgment. I'm just saying now. So let's say, for example, you believe that it's wrong. That's your belief, and that's probably his belief, and you do it. And then you feel guilty, and then you do it again. What is happening between those two times? What's happening in your head that the guilt is not strong enough to stop the other one? Is it something, I don't want to put words in your mouth, is it something wanting to please him? What is that battle that you're going through with that?
I can say that now that I am educating myself more in the word, that I was not strong enough against the flesh. Like I fight the desire of flesh directly because I had to understand what that was. We were sitting in the same church, receiving the same word, but his conviction was not my conviction. And I didn't understand how I was going to translate that not go to his mom. Like I sit in front of his mom, I'm in the choir with his dad. This conversation needs to be had. I am the person that has to have it. So I had to develop what this problem was and what the course of correction. I still have cravings. Like I don't eat the best. I don't use my time as God would. It is me living my life as God wants me to, not as I want to. And those desires of flesh have many different levels that play out in our life. That one place just happened to be sex. It was something that I needed soothed. It was closeness that I need, and I had never developed it without intercourse. And not even just intercourse, I am a close person. So it's really hard not to develop an intimacy already before we actually
That's really, really good.
intertwine.
Yeah, that's good. You're saying some really, really powerful things there. That's really, really good.
Really, yeah.
Hmm.
And I had
Because
to sit with this. I'm still sitting with this. So forgive me when I misstep, but words mean a lot. And I just really study what's happening with me and what's happening with him, because we didn't have anyone to have this conversation with us.
mhm. But that what you're saying is really good, and I like the distinction that you're putting, or kind of making it across the board, because we're looking at that as only sex when you're bringing in some of the other struggles that we have um, as well. That just says it's a lack of discipline for us, right?
Exactly.
So
Yes, that
it
word.
shows up with sex, but it shows up with our choice of food. It shows up with our time and everything else like that. So, Candy, do you? I know you've been married for a while, but do you think that there is a difference between how your appetite for sex as a girlfriend, as opposed to a wife? Is the appetite the same?
I mean, I feel like it has waves. I feel like my appetite with sex was definitely, um, I, my craving was a lot more before I got married. I don't know why. I think it was because I wasn't supposed to be doing it, but
As,
that was
uh-huh.
so long ago.
Uh-huh.
But I feel like my appetite sex, my appetite for sex definitely changes according to my stress level. I feel like if there's a lot of things going on, I can't even think about sex. My husband have to be like, honey, it's been a minute, But if I'm like on like my kids, or I remember when I was in school. I mean, I was like school. My mind was, but I can say that once I was like, oh, it's been, oh yes, it was always very satisfying, and I was very glad that he was like, it's been a minute, and so I can definitely say when I wasn't supposed to be doing it, it was different. But not to say that it's not good now. It's great, But I think that it's almost kind of like, and like you really can't compare sex to like food, but I feel like sometimes, have you ever had someone have something and you taste it and it just tastes so good, but then you go buy your own, it's still
Yes.
good, but it seemed like that one was, did it do something
Yes.
different, So
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
yeah.
That's good. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, in fact, you've had, yeah, you've had that because you were divorced. Um, so is it with you, because I know a little bit of your story, there seems to be and for those people listening, I have permission from Yvette and her fiance to talk about this. So it sounds like you talked a good talk about sex before you got married, and then when you got married, you were the holy,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
woman of God, so much so that
So
so
much so that I was able to write that article called "How Religion Wrecked My Marriage," because one of the things that happened for me when I was married, before I got married, I prayed that God would restore me to like virginal, and I wanted to be brand new for my husband. And so during that time, what I didn't realize was that my mindset shifted. And when I was out in the world doing everything that I could think of and wanted to do it, that I was out there doing it, sometimes being convicted, other times not being, I didn't have any problems. But as soon as I got married and in the confines of my relationship, I was struggling because what I thought was me keeping myself from my husband, and mind you, my husband at the time, he and I were friends when we were teenagers. So, but we were just friends. We never had any, experiences together. So by the time we got married, his expectation of me was what he knew about me when I was 18 years old, when we first met. And that wasn't who showed up in the relationship. So, I don't think that I was even able to satisfy my husband when I was married because I was very sort of frigid. Not really, but I was also at an age where I was going through menopause, which can have some issues as well. And then I wasn't as sexually liberated as I thought I had been in the past. It's like my head and my body couldn't connect. And that was very awkward and it was embarrassing. There was a whole lot going on. So for me, that time was very trying. So if I had to look at who I am now, right, as an engaged woman, we're not we're abstaining until we get married. And one of the things that I was able to do with my fiance was to entrust him with our chastity during this time because I knew that my desire for him is strong and it's something that I contend with every day. And so even though we share lots of intimate moments, we touch, we do a bunch of things, and we will stop like just short of. However, I know that my strength in this whole place was short. And so I had to entrust him with that. And he's done an excellent job with it. Like he just, I might tease him, he might tease me, but we're like, all right, well, we're gonna cut it off right here. You need to go home, or something like that. So it's been amazing, only because we do also have those conversations about what we like, what we want. We will explore each other to see like what areas are sensitive. How do you like to be kissed? How do you like to be touched? How do you like to be rubbed? All of those things that are important. I feel like in premarital counseling, which we're actually doing with Dr. Holmes, you need to explore those things. And I know we had an exercise one day with Dr. Holmes where we had to talk about some things that got us hot and bothered. And then we had to, be able to deal with that. But it's great because it's a great preparation for when the time comes. We're not going to be squeamish. We're not going to be afraid. We know what we want. We know what we like. We've gone online and bought toys. So I'm just putting it out there. I feel like it's a great way to prepare for the future. And should sex as a single person be the same as a married person? I think that it should, because you should always be on your game. You should always be looking for how to reinvent yourself. You should always be looking for how you can make it better. And so those are my thoughts on that.
That's really, really good. And, she's sharing some of the stuff. We really believe in choice. And we exploring and stuff like that. A lot of times we think that God is going to be mad with us when we do certain things, but I'm looking at all these ladies here. We have nice air. We have accessories. We like accessories. We like whether it's the earrings, the lipsticks, and everything else. There still needs to be that level of accessorizing your bedroom life and keeping that nice and fresh and alive, because there's sometimes, because I'm a sex therapist as well, I see people who have so many illnesses, and maybe Candy, you can talk to that about that as well, where they're not able to enjoy sex, whether it is erectile deficiency or, now going through menopause, the dryness and everything else. So now when you're able to enjoy that, because there's a time that if you live and you're 90, although I want to have great sex when I'm 92, but let's say 112, 20, where you can't do anything, you have the memories and the fun stuff that you have done. What do you think, Teresa, about initiating sex with your husband? Yes or no?
I am, yes, absolutely. I initiate because he thought like once we got married, it was just literally like a every night thing, and he just kind of he didn't know it wasn't him being mean or rude or a man, but he just thought once we got married, that's just something you do every night. So now I kind of let him know when it's how we build up to it. So I kind of
Okay, so you're saying it's not every night, or it's more than every night?
well, it can sometimes we'll get on a good roll, but life does kind of take over, and I don't want it to become so systematic because you know you want to keep it hot. I guess I don't know how to separate like the routine part of it from just that desire and making sure you're putting it into it. I have so many different directions for this because even we're trying to conceive. So I'm on a spreadsheet. Like I have to initiate and I have to make sure he's not getting hot when he don't need to. Like we got a whole project management over here. So
My
it's
algorithm.
different conversation.
Yes, the
Yeah.
algorithm. Yes, yeah. That's not bad. Sometimes men really enjoy that time because and I'm glad it doesn't sound like it's happening in your relationship, but a lot of times men have to work to be rewarded with sex and intimacy. It's a price that the woman has that she dictates when it happens. So to be in a place where it's fluid, it's whatever we decide to do. That's a really beautiful place to be. Again, especially early in the marriage, because that 0 to 5 or 0 to 7 year, if you think about it as a child, a lot of relationships die. It would die within that time because that assimilation process is so difficult. That becoming one is just not. People say it, and you stand there, you say the vows, they throw rice on you, have a reception, and they expect that you go home and you be a wife and everything is great. And people ask you the next week, how's marriage? It's like, I don't know, because we're still kind
I
of
don't
working.
know.
You're still kind of working through it. And then even after being there for a long time, you're changing. You're changing through that process. Some of the things that you believed initially, you don't believe now. The
Right.
you that was there. Maybe you put on some weight, maybe you've lost some weight. Some of the positions that would work before is not working now. There's a whole lot of shifting and changing. And one of the things that you want to do is to do it together.
Right. And
Because
I'm so sorry. I share a lot of Yvette's story. Even that
oh,
you're a marriage counselor, like a premarital counselor, like I share like that story that you told. I decided we were going to not have sex those first 6 months, guys. Like I said that while we were dating, like I had just came out of a shacking up situation. I was over it. I had decided that that was not the man I was going to marry. I had stopped, sleeping with him, and that relationship needed to end. And I found the closest exit. So when this kind of happened, I wasn't even looking for it. So I'm thinking, oh my God, here I am back in another relationship, but I am trying to do the same thing. I'm trying to purify myself. Like I am over these connections and these lost lovers, because that's what they amounted to. So when I didn't have the same conversation, Yvette, but in my heart, I had made that promise to myself that I would just keep my goods and for my husband. So when he realized that, yes, of course, I'm going to marry you, that was a friction. Like we could go ahead and do it because we are going to get married. So I held out. I didn't do it the right way. I didn't have accountability friends around us going, leaving dates early, setting boundaries for myself. I just thought I was gonna cut it out, altogether. And my whole family life was falling apart. And I needed him in what I thought sex was way more. Like I turned my heart over to God, and these lessons. Right, he is an amazing guy. Like every time his dad saw us, it was just like, oh, y'all getting married? Oh, y'all getting married? I said, you are talking to the wrong person. Have you talked to your son? Because all he got to do is ask the question. And I would love the time to tell you guys how we ended up in the pastor's office after church one Sunday with him and the first lady. We were sitting on the leather couch. We had to come to Jesus, okay? And it, all we had to do was submit. I had at that point, it was nothing else I could do. So I held out, I gave in, which I wasn't even really holding out. Now that I read how to do it, should have just, threw that out the window or seeked help fast, because we were dangerously not obeying the word. So we didn't. We started, and then once we got engaged and started premarital counseling, we stopped. But guys, we were planning a wedding and we lived together, so we had to stop.
Oh wow! Stop. So you were living together and had to stop, which is even more difficult.
And planning the second wedding that he didn't want us to do, but we couldn't get the money back on the venue. So we had to do the second wedding during COVID. Oh, it was.
So hold on. When you got married, the first, just you and him, you were having sex then, after that, right?
Before that, he proposed for Christmas. He proposed Christmas Day, 2019. Our first wedding, just he and I, was April 4th, 2020. So between that time, we were not having sex at all. We were waiting till the wedding night. So now when COVID hit, we had to postpone the wedding. But that would have meant like postponing,
waiting longer.
Longer.
Right. Yeah, I thought you were saying that you got this when you guys got married, you stayed celibate until the other wedding.
We were planning that wedding. That was the wedding we were planning, and we didn't have it. So we just tied the knot with just he and I. We had to go ahead and do it on that date because we couldn't wait for the actual date. So we got married February 13th, 2021. But we were already married and, had already just went ahead and but we still wish that we could have had that whole feeling, that marriage, that wedding, that big one. And then that night, I wish it would have been in April on the first night, because it was like we did not want to postpone, because if we weren't having sex, I don't think we wouldn't have been able to live together. We wouldn't have been able to live together. So I'm sorry, guys.
No, that's good. That's really, really good, because there's so many people who find themselves in that same situation. And I think it's very important to understand that God is not trying to frustrate our lives, but it's just that when sex gets in the picture, it blinds us from so many other things that we should see. There are people who know that they're in really horrible relationship, but the sex is good. We have an assessment that the couples do. Their sex might be at 100. Communication is 0. Conflict resolution is 0. Of course, all the other stuff is at 0, but the sex is good. So in the mind of God, what he's trying to do is to get you to find other ways to be able to become one and talk about background and culture and things you like, you don't like, embarrassing moments, molestation, things that has happened to you in your life, so that the other person know who they're getting married to. And that's what I think COVID did, because it forced people, their relationship, they were not meeting and talking. In fact, even with Yvette, I had to tell Yvette, listen, go meet the man, because meet him face to face, because it's just developing that piece that we don't have on a regular basis. Because once you meet someone and then it's like, let's go out to dinner. And after dinner, you're holding hands. It becomes really physical really quickly. And that
Oh.
binds us from different things. But, like Yvette, she said, okay, he's going to see here. I was like, this is a coach. Put on your nice outfit. And she was just going to see him for like 5 minutes. But you got to let the man see that you're real. And I know she was nervous, heart racing, all of that. Brave with talking. Tell us about it. Brave talking on the phone, but then actually going to see him, she's hesitant.
Yeah, because so we met online. That was in April, and we did all this talking, and we had a plan that we were going to meet 4th of July for this event that they were doing at the yacht club. And so Dr. Holmes kept saying, "No, you better meet him before then. You better meet him before then." Now the funny thing is, his father had passed away like 30 years ago, but his father told him, "Listen, you're going to meet a nice girl at the church." So when we first met, we found out, we discovered that we went to the same church, being that it's a mega church. We, we never saw each other there.
Right.
Fine. However, our first meeting was at our church. He was actually doing a job. This was during the pandemic, and his business also does sterilization cleaning. So he had offered his services to the church, and I knew that he was going to be there. And I said, "Oh, I'm going to swing by the church to meet you." So he came outside in his full attire and looking really, really handsome, really nice. And if you could see the look on his face, it was priceless, because I was standing there like a present, and he came out with his
Oh.
look on his the look on it was truly worth it. And again, yet again, Dr. Holmes, I have you credit for that. So we just owe you a whole lot, you know, because that was very precious to me, and just to be able to meet him and to fulfill what his father had told him, "You're going to meet the girl at the church," and that was true. That was where we met. So that was just amazing.
Love it.
Isn't that really nice? It makes you feel good all the time. I, pat my own self on my own shoulder. But
You
one of
did
the
that.
but one of the things that happens when, because I have another person who, she said, no, it's not going to happen. I had to get her on what the site that she needed to get to talk through those first. She could not send text messages when she's upset without sending it to me first, because there's sometimes when you get into a relationship, because you've been hurt so many times, that any indication, anything that kind of smell like something that you experienced before,
Mhm.
you're gone.
Yeah.
So, and I'm saying, because the guy was supposed to call her back, and let's say he was supposed to call on Monday and he didn't call, it was Wednesday, and she put a text message together like, "I know you didn't care, you're just playing," and whatever. And I'm like, what happens if he has an emergency? Because they only had one date. So there was no obligation and everything like that. And then I changed the text messages. Even now, there are people who be on the date, and then they um, put their phone on and they're talking to me with their earpiece. I'm hearing what they're saying, and I'm like, hush, shh, don't say anything, because you're going to ruin the relationship. So what is nice about coaching is not just having a coach, but being coachable, right? Being coachable, because you just like, I'm a grown woman, I'm a grown man, I can do whatever the heck I want to do. You can't tell me, what to do. But what makes these situations work is because the people who we're working with would trust you, trust your guidance, just like Ruth did with Naomi. Trust the judgment. So that's one of the things I want to commend Yvette for. And her fiance is just, he is right there every time. He wants to get all the skill, all the information he can to be a good husband. And she would tell you sometimes we are at it because he is in the place. I believe that he's an alpha man times 10,000.
Yes.
So he
I
is.
got one of those.
You got one of those, so you know what I'm talking about. So it's not easy, and then so it's just being gentle with sharing with him. This is what How about considering this? But this is such a great thing, a great love story for us to be able to share. What before we leave, Candy, what advice would you give to women in terms of understanding their man? One of the things I love is that you were honest. You had your dips and your high points, and your time 2 years ago where you would have been like,
Mm-hmm.
but how do you walk through those downtime?
I have to shut up. I have to shut up and kind of think first before I talk, because a lot of times, and I still do it now, but I'm working on that. I'll say communication is so important. I mean, like, you have to be able to communicate. If you talking and he talking, then nothing's gonna be resolved. What I know about my husband, he wants to see me happy, but he also wants to win, and I want to win. So it's always, we have to be able to communicate and meet some kind of, median. I mean, there's no way around it, really, because you don't want to ever feel like you're the one that's always giving in, but you also don't want to feel like you're the one that's always, with the boxing gloves on, So communication is so important. I think that even sometimes with communicating, it's still, I feel like my husband doesn't receive what I'm trying to communicate to him, or it doesn't, how should I say, it doesn't have the same value, to him as it does to me. And when it doesn't have the same value to them, then of course they're not going to treat it the same. But then you're on the other end, kind of like, why are you not finding this important? Like things like when we were younger, we would have financial issues, and I would be upset with him because I felt that he was not concerned enough about, our finances. And he's like, I'm not going to worry about it. He felt like when he worried, he lets God down, which he has a very, 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 very good relationship with God. So that's important too. So communicating, no, God first. And then communicating is so, so, and so important. It's so important because without communication, then you're not going to be able to live together, So
Right, right.
communicating.
Well, ladies, we're gonna get final words from all of you. I know we have an amazing time talking with each other, but let's get some final words. You can talk about anything you want, probably something that we've spoken about, or something that you just want to leave with the listeners. It's all yours, Teresa. Share with us your final words.
This was so amazing to truly have that connection. I didn't know how it was going to go or what we would talk about or how open I would be or, how it would flow. But it was so natural. It was such a safe space. And I talked to you, Dr. Holmes and Miss Yvette. I talked to you guys about anything. Me and Candy know that we're sisters and we just talked and we have to have these types of spaces to have these types of conversations. And I just appreciate and look forward to having more conversations with you all. And I yield my mic there. Thank you all so much for being open and accepting me as well.
That's really, really good. We have a way of making people talk and feel comfortable and having the real conversation. So thank you so much for participating. You're on Clubhouse as well.
Yes, ma'am. I'm on Clubhouse, and I just try to share in the spaces that invite me. And I got some juice for you, for Dr. Holmes, and make sure I say that right, because you taking the juice, so you want to squeeze this orange. You feel free.
I am going to be looking for you guys. I just started the whole Clubhouse thing, so I'll be looking for you. And if you see me anywhere, just make sure you know it's me. I don't have to come on your stage, but I'm there just eavesdropping and listening to you. It's been such a pleasure having you, and thank you so much for your candidness. Thank you for trusting us with some of the precious things in your life. We know it was not easy. We saw the emotions even some of those times, but let me just speak on behalf of God as his mouthpiece to you and let you know that God loves you. And there's nothing that has happened in your past that was not ordained to happen. I know that sounds crazy, but your pain has purpose. And right now you can speak from that place. And you give, when God is looking down at you, he is smiling. So reminding him of some of the things that you've done is a very difficult thing because he doesn't remember. And it's time for you to put that in the sea of forgetfulness as well and walk in God's purpose. What happened yesterday is done. Today's a brand new day. You're doing a brand new thing and you're helping so many people. Don't let the enemy come and remind you of things that you've done when you were not in that solid relationship with God. God loves you right now. Your life is blessing so many people and it's putting a smile on God's face. Note, I didn't say heaven or hell because as we get mature, we're not thinking about going to hell or heaven. We want to put a smile on our daddy's face and you're doing that. So blessings to you.
He'll say, well done, good and
Well
faithful.
done. Yes,
Well
ma'am.
done.
Well
Thank you
done.
so much, Dr. Holmes.
Good. See you soon. All right. Yvette, give us your final words.
Relationships are so important and we should treat them like they're valuable. We should invest time. We should look at ourselves to see how we could improve ourselves in the relationship. What could we have done differently to produce a different result? I think we always have to be mindful. One of the things that you mentioned, Dr. Holmes, was as a coach, we have to remain coachable. And so the lessons that we learn help us to be better for the clients that we serve. So I would just encourage everybody just to continue to do the good work and remember that your relationship is a journey and not a destination.
I love it. I love it. I love it. This is, my protege. I'm just so proud of you and proud of all that's happening with you. I want to see you on the stage. You know that. I want to see you on the stage. I love your service and servant disposition. But God has called you to shine and shine bright. Love you and
Love you too.
I was gonna say you're gonna be back, but this is your thing. Nobody knows. Yvette is running this whole thing, Man Cave, Yvette and Joel, Man Cave and SheShed. All I do is show up. So thank you so much. I want to publicly say that I really appreciate all that you've done and the sacrifices you're making for this.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, the next beautiful lady here to give us her final words. Candy, tell us what you have to tell us.
Well, first of all, Dr. Holmes, thank you very much for having me, and thank you, Ms. Robinson, and thank you, Teresa, for inviting me to let me know this was available to me. But what I want to say is that relationships are very, very important, and we have to nurture them. And so, in nurturing them, that's growing, feeding and keeping them well managed. So in order to do that, like I mentioned once before, communication and God, and just as long as we keep that, we're going to have the the relationships that we're looking for in the future. But definitely this has been an eye opener, because so often we have the younger, and I'm saying the younger because I have one of my friends, I don't mind saying my age, I'm 45. One of my friends, by the age of 34, I think she had been divorced 4 times. So I think that with a platform like this will help the everyone kind of nurture and not throw in the towel so soon when they're in a relationship, marital relationships. Sometimes like our friend relationships, they're just as important. We have to nurture them just as much. But for a marital relationship, this is a very, 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 very needed, because the divorce rate is at an all-time high. And so this will definitely be very helpful, not for just me, for a lot of people. So
Yeah,
thank you very
and
much.
your contribution to this was really good. Sharing, you shared from that private place. Because sometimes I look at people and I know that they are not sharing their business all over, so I do not take this lightly. I don't
Hmm.
take this lightly at all, because when you share from this place, even sharing your bleeding,
Hmm.
we're in a culture that we post the pictures that we like, we post the times in our relationship that we like. We post all the
Hmm.
good things, and there's few times that people get a chance to see some of the not so good things. So having this conversation with me has been priceless, and I want to thank you so much. And I'm glad for all that you're doing as a healthcare provider as well. Stay
Thank you.
safe, stay good, and thank you for all that you're doing for us in Texas, and by default the rest of the world. I know
Thank
I'll
you
see
so
you
much.
again. Well, this again has been a really, really, really great conversation, and these women are sharing things. They share from their private lives, and the reason for this is so that those of you who are listening, especially women who are listening, you can take hope. One of the things that Candy just said, talked about, was giving up on the relationship too soon. Because sometimes we do stay too long, but I don't think that problem is as prevalent as uh, the culture that we're developing right now. Many of us grew up in homes where divorce was never ever mentioned. We didn't see it. Even some of the TV shows and movies didn't have divorce. And so, but right now we're in a culture that anything you can get. I'm not happy, so I get divorced. He's not pleasing me, or she's not pleasing me, so I'm gonna get divorced. It's easy for us to run, but it doesn't take a lot of skill to run. It doesn't take a lot of skill to abort what God is doing. The skill, the tenacity, the wisdom, the knowledge comes in finding ways to stay. I'm not saying that this is an abusive relationship. My philosophy: if he's a Hittite, you be a Levite. Don't stay there and get hurt. But maybe to you, ma'am, who you're listening right now, maybe there's something that God has put in you. There's still a remnant inside of you that if you use that skill after you've offered it to God, that it will cause your relationship to be sustained. What's happening a lot of times, two people trying to become one. A lot of times that engagement requires you to read the other person's mind, and we can't do it. So we miss it so often. Sometimes telling the person what we need makes us feel vulnerable, so we don't share what we need, and they don't know what we need, and so we end up in chaos. There's a moment that you have to leave, if it's violence. But everything other than that can be fixed. I know you may not agree, but this is the time to understand that God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we can ask, think, or imagine. We have a God who has never failed us, and it's impossible for him to fail. If you really commit your relationship to God, not and minus your pride, because a lot of divorce happens because of pride. Pride and Candy mentioned it. I want to be right. I don't want to look silly. But that is the pride, and pride will destroy your marriage every day. But if we submit ourselves to God and to the will and purpose of God, and want to put a smile on his face, like Candy said again, we will hush and not speak. And we will serve and submit. Not just the woman to the man, but the man to the woman. All right, I hope this has been a blessing to you. If you need further assistance, we have Christian and Crisis Hotline, and we have a lot of counselors who will be able to help you. But don't give up on your marriage, on your relationship without a fight. My name is Dr. Cheryl Holmes, and I'll see you next time.